This video was supposed to be an easy peach ginger beer.
This is a test. This is a test. Let's see how it works. Also need to lotion my hands. It's not worse like having crusty hands show up on camera.
But that's not exactly what happened. So even though I had the ingredients, I had a shot list, I knew the number of videos I was going to make, this recipe didn't happen. In fact, what ended up happening was me capturing the chaos that is the preparation for the recipe. Because the recipe was not the hard part. In fact, it was a very simple recipe. I was not doing super heavy lifting as far as cooking and creating was concerned. What took place was the preparation. And for some reason, grating ginger took up a lot of time, even though it was a little bit. But then placing it with the sugar that I needed for the glass rims, not having the correct container to put it in, that added time to things. That somehow felt like a hard task on this day. And the thing about tasks like this is that it's not just one task. You have a bunch of other little mini tasks that happen before you even get there. What I like to call hidden things. So as much as how the recipe was simple, when you start look at all the other things involved, like me needing to clean off my knife or clean up the counter, because I like to keep my space kind of clean while I work, moving, the trash, food to the compost. Those things are hidden tasks, and they add to your general task. Not to mention the interruptions that that happen when you realize things like your paper towel was done, or you didn't have a muddler, so you needed to think quick and grab the wooden spoon that would have to suffice. It's things like this that make the behind the scenes things even harder. Then you have things like realizing the peaches were not as ripe as you thought they would have been. And so, how is that going to impact the recipe? The interruption of needing to stop to go and get new paper towel because you needed it throughout the process. Checking your lighting because things seem off. All of this added to what felt like a stressful session or an attempt at a filming session, which then brought up the question of my capacity, because there was something else happening on this day. It was a day of remembrance for someone important to me. So while I had the ingredients and they were very simple and I had a plan, a lot of my attention was actually somewhere else. And I think it's not something we account for, because honestly my brain was scattered. We often measure what gets done and we measure it against what doesn't get done. But what we don't account for is everything else that we might be carrying. And in this case, for me, it was a grief kind of day, or a day balancing grief and joy. It being the start of a new month, but also remembering a loved one. That kind of takes up brain space, mental and emotional space. And this chaos slash fail, it often gets edited out of the food content. You only see the finished product. You don't see, okay, making the decision, we're going to have to pack this up today or come back the next day. You don't see the interruptions and the adjustments when things don't go according to plan. And because of this, we tend to judge ourselves. I think I get frustrated, and I know a lot of creators may get frustrated because it feels harder than it should, doing all of this cooking, doing all this creating, prepping, work projects, life in general, and we're often only counting what's visible. We don't account for the energy that it takes to plan. We don't account for the things that interrupt and break momentum. We don't think about the emotional load that happens, that you have to handle or deal with, or things happening in the background. So maybe the challenge is not the actual act of creating the recipe, it's what's happening, everything else that's happening. And one thing I've learned over the years is that your capacity isn't just physical. Your capacity is impacted by time. Like this video session or attempt at creating this video was supposed to happen at a particular time. It didn't, so it got shifted, but then it went up against other time demands, and so it would not have worked. So my capacity was also impacted by that time. I was trying to rush, and rushing just makes the brain worse, static, spazzes out. Capacity is also shaped by energy. So by this time I was deflated. It's like, yes, I'm gonna have to do this another day. My intention was already shot. My emotions were up and down. These things being carried. This footage reminds me that sometimes the task feels difficult, not because I'm doing anything wrong, but because I'm trying to do it while carrying everything else. So while the recipe never happened the way I wanted, I think it's taught me something important. A great reminder that it may feel harder than it really is, not because it actually is hard, but because you are not in the position to carry out a task, however simple it might be, because your capacity is not where it needs to be. And that capacity is impacted by more than just you showing up. It's shaped by also, or it's impacted also by what you're carrying when you do show up. So if you enjoy this episode, go ahead and like and subscribe, but also feel free to join my weekly newsletter, The Weekly Dose, where I share practical insights, meal ideas to help you nourish yourself and find and build a more supportive relationship with food and your everyday life.